welcome back to Smoking Beau's Barbecue. I'm your host, Beau Briscoe. All right, we are gonna try something new, okay? Most things that you've seen me do on camera, in fact, just about everything you've seen me do on camera, I've either done before a million times, or I've at least practiced it once or twice before I decided to show you guys, hey, this is how I wanna do this, and maybe you like it, or you can come up with your own recipes and ideas that kind of match what I'm doing, okay? I have decided that I want to stop wasting meat, all right? All these brisket trimmings, all these pork trimmings, and everything that we do, I'm tired of throwing it out. I'm done with it. It's time to start making some sausage. I have never made any sausage in my entire life, okay? I go to the store, I buy some hickory smoked sausage, and I cook it and go from there. I have been watching a ton of barbecue YouTube content that's not from me. Some of this stuff I've kind of taken ideas from the big guys like Bradley Robinson over on Chud's Barbecue, and watching the stuff that he's been doing with Jeremy Yoder on Mad Scientist Barbecue. I'll give those guys an awesome little shout out. And I've kind of taken the stuff I've learned from them, wrote it down in my little barbecue Bible here, and altered it, of course, to fit our tastes here. We're not practicing this. You guys get to watch this. I don't know what I'm doing. Alan bought me a meat grinder for Christmas. We're gonna figure it all out together on camera. We're probably gonna screw it up, and it's perfectly fine. I want you guys to see it and go along with me on this ride. So let's get after it. So what we have here is a whole lot of beef and some brisket trimmings. So today we're gonna do a simple, basic beef sausage. It's gonna have a little bit of spice to it. It's gonna have some cheese to it. I'm not gonna do jalapenos though, because we're just, one, I don't have any, and two, still trying to, I want to master this a little bit before I go making that elusive jalapeno cheddar sausage that everybody loves. But I do have some high temperature cheddar cheese that I want to use. So we're gonna make just some plain old beef sausage with a little bit of kick and some cheese in it. What I do have here is a bunch of brisket trimmings from a couple briskets. A little bit of meat on them, but mostly it's just fat, a lot of that decal fat and that fat cap that I trim off and thin down. And then to get our 70-30, which is what I'm told is what we're supposed to have for a meat to fat ratio, I went ahead and bought a couple of cheap chuck roasts that were on sale at the local grocery store. So that should give us about a 6 to 7 pound batch of meat, and our 70-30 fat ratio. Okay, so it's already been frozen a little bit. Also been told that we want to have like a little bit of a firm frozen meat so that the fat doesn't melt and get all squishy and render whenever we run through the meat grinder. So I'm gonna cube and strip this up a little bit, and then we'll throw it back in the freezer for just a little bit longer before we grind it up, okay? Okay, now that we got this all cut up, we're gonna throw it in the freezer for a little bit longer and let it get nice and firm while we mix up our dry ingredients. Okay, and for our dry ingredients, we're gonna go with some kosher salt. I'm not even gonna bother talking about the measurements. I have them written down, and we'll see if it works. And if it does work, then I'll list them in the description down below. Some coarse ground black pepper, some granulated garlic. Now, most people use paprika and cayenne pepper for heat. You know us, we like to use Chipotle chili powder. So that's what we're gonna use. Get out of there. Mustard powder, because mustard and sausage always go well together. And then for our binder, we're gonna use milk powder. All of it. Okay. And then we're just gonna mix that up nice and thoroughly. Get all them little flavor bursts and chunkies out of there. And we're good to go. So we have our meat, been sitting in the freezer for about 20 minutes or so. I had to run and go get some more beef broth for a little later on that. And so we got our little meat grinder here that it's kind of an all-in-one little thing that Alan got me. It's hopefully it's powerful enough to do this, and we'll have some fun with it. And it also does the stuffing. So yeah, let's figure it out. Okay, now that we've got it all ground up, nice and pretty. Notice that we use the coarse die. We're also going to continue to use the coarse die for this. If you wanted to, I guess you could use the smaller one, but I want to make that nice, thick, coarse sausage. So let's go ahead and add the rest of our ingredients. Here's all that dry stuff we mixed up before. And then, just to give it a little bit of moisture and help everything bind together, you can use water, I guess. Some people have said that, but we're going to use about a cup of some beef broth. And then we're just going to mix this all up. Once we get everything nice and incorporated, we're going to send it back through the grinder one more time just to get the meat and fat all mixed up properly and start getting this thing to bind up and get a little tacky like we want it. So get right back with you here in just a second. Okay, now that everything's ground a second time, it's nice and evenly distributed with the meat and fat. Still went through the coarse die again, so we still have some pretty good chunks in there. Now, if you don't run it through the second time, I guess, sometimes you gotta mix it like this and get all those enzymes to break up and get it nice and tacky. But since we ran it through the second time, as you can see, it's sticking together pretty well. I don't think we're going to need to really do much with this. I'm just going to get it all pushed together into one piece. My little grinder did just fine, except for the last like half pound of meat. And I decided to shut off and overheat, so I had to kind of coax it into finishing the second grind a little bit. So we're going to let that cool off before we switch it over and clean it up to get it into the stuffing mode of it. And we'll see you then.
4 to 6 days later.
Okay, so, new day. Hey guys, Smokin' Beau here. Sorry to pause the video for a second, but I just needed to let you know, you're probably going to hear me sound a little weird in this next clip. And that's because it's springtime here in Virginia, and the pollinating has happened. Therefore, my sinuses are wrecked. Hopefully it sounded a little bit better. Thanks for watching. By that, it's, 5 days later? So we got everything ground up, we had everything mixed up, and then our little grinder that was also supposed to be a stuffer all-in-one, unfortunately, it kind of pooped the bed. It wasn't made to handle large quantities of meat like this, but we did get it ground up. I vacuum sealed it, we froze it, and we're just going to cut it open and get back going. We're going to add our high temperature cheddar cheese into this beef sausage and get it cased up. We ordered a nice brand new, big, fancy, heavy duty sausage stuffer. So hopefully we don't have to break this one. It's manual, so let's have some fun with it. All right, so we have some standard hog casing here that's been soaking for the last few days in water. They only need to soak for 15 minutes, but since we had them going, I didn't want to dry them out. And again, we've talked about this. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just going off of stuff I've seen and read. So we're going to open up that casing, listen to the cat meow a few times. She's over there playing. Hi. And we're going to fill this with some water. That way, it kind of opens up the casing, flushes it out, and we'll get it on our horn here. And hopefully not tear the casing as we get it on there. Tie us a little knot. And let's see what we can do. Let's see how long we go before we break one. All right, we got our first link of sausages. That's a lot harder than it looks. So after watching a handful of other YouTubers and just other videos of sausage making, there's definitely an art to it. I'm gonna get some more practice. We'll just have a little bit of fun here, and we're going to use the rest of the meat we have. I'll probably make maybe 2 more links like this. I'll see about getting them a little tighter and practice with it, and then we'll get them smoking. Okay, so we've got our smoker rolling at 125 to 150 degrees. We're gonna do kind of a cold smoke on it. Not a true cold smoke. It's not gonna be like 90 degrees, but we're gonna do about 100 to 125. And I got a little creative, okay? So I've watched a lot of people just put them nice straight on the rack. And then what happens is you end up having to clean them and they get gross, nasty soot on them as they're cooking and you gotta flip them. I'm trying something a little different. So what I've done is I went to the hardware store and bought a bunch of these little stainless steel hooks. And we're gonna use the top grate that comes into the old country. I went ahead and just pulled the bottom grate out. That was a good excuse to clean up the bottom of my smoker also. And we're gonna hang these sausages on those little hooks and see if that gives us any kind of a better result than what I've seen on the YouTubes. So let's get them hung up and get these going for 3 or 4 hours. It has been exactly 4 hours, and these little weenies are looking good to go. Nice and smoky. This is that first batch that we did. You can see there was some air pockets and not quite as plump. That's the first ones that we did. And then the next batch that we did, nice and plump, nice and thick. Even got a big long one up here sitting on the rack. So these have gotten all the low smoke that they're gonna get for now. It's time to crank up the heat. We're gonna go about 300 degrees for 30 to 45 minutes to get these things good and cooked all the way through and get some supper. So, very valuable lessons learned. So that hanging method that you guys saw, that was wonderful for smoking. We moved things around just a little bit and that got all the little edges where they were touching, smoked up just fine. Once we started to crank the temperature up to 300 degrees though, a very valuable lesson, the little ends of the casing started to break off and we had a couple of them fall into the bottom of the smoke pit, or of the cook chamber, and started frying in the grease that was down there. So that's probably good on the inside, but the outside's kind of frying in some grossness and probably not going to be a great sausage. But anyway, some of them, like you can see from the first batch, they didn't get as plump and tight, so they're a little wrinkly. Some of them are a little bit more like this one here we're going to cut open. This is a little bit more tight and plump. Can still get probably a little tighter. There you can still see so there's some rendered fat in there. So yeah, just a little more practice getting tighter on the sausage stuffing. That way they stay nice and plump on the smoker. Probably a little bit more with heat management. Probably I can lower the actual cooking temperature and it might help with not drying that out so much. We might try the ice bath method next time too. That might help too in between smoking and cooking. But all in all, 90% of them came out great. There were just a couple that were casualties, and that's fine. Not bad for the first try. Let's go ahead and let's get a little taste here. So we'll slice up a little ring here. There you go. There's a nice little cross section. You should be able to see there's a nice big like half-inch smoke ring all the way around that, and then just a little bit of meat in there that's not actually smoked. And of course that high temperature cheddar holding its shape really well. So on with the taste test. Instant smoke. Even though the skin, the casing's not tight, still a little crunchy. Really good. Good little spice to it. We did try that little patty that was left over of some of the meat from the stuffing. We fried it up, made a little bit of lunch with it, and it was really good. I was expecting that it was going to taste 1,000 times better with smoke, and it does. So yeah, I'm going to call this a success. Let's go ahead and see if we can get a nice little snap here with this. Yeah, still got a good little snap to it, even though it's not nice and even though it's not super tight. Man, that looks delicious. All right, so that is it. Thank you guys for watching. So we are going to go ahead and keep this recipe that I have written down for the beef cheddar sausage. I like it. It tastes good. A little bit of spice with that Chipotle chili powder, holding together really well. We might change up some methods, obviously. I need to change up the cooking methods so they get a little bit more plump, and a little less, falling off into the fire. And I would also like to maybe see about doing just a single grind instead of a double grind, so it's maybe a little bit more of a coarse sausage. So if you guys have any suggestions, or if you guys have been making sausage before, please let me know that in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. And then if you try this method, go ahead and let me know how it works out for you. So please go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys on the next go around.